Okay, I get it. It's the preliminary games. It's nothing to fully come to conclusions from. But my friends, my Vancouver Canucks, prospect cheering, future hoping, tanking wishing friends, we need to talk about Braeden Cootes of the Seattle Thunderbirds and of Team Canada's preliminary roster, because man, oh man, is this guy looking like a stud. If you missed it, yesterday we saw Canada and Sweden face off in their World Juniors preliminary game. Right now we're on tsn.ca. You can take a look at how Brady Martin and Gavin Mckenna lifted Canada past Sweden in their World Juniors pre-tournament game. Martin scored twice as Canada defeated Sweden 2-1 in pre-tournament action for the World Junior Hockey Championship on Wednesday. This was yesterday, of course, but unfortunately, my mind was focused on the other games going on in the National Hockey League. I had this game on in the background of my monitor, but I wasn't really, actively paying attention. At least when Braeden Cootes was on the screen, that's when it was like, oh, now there's actually reasons to watch. But this game was pretty cool. McKenna, Hage, Martin, they looked dynamic, of course. Michael Hage, Montreal Canadiens prospect, going out there and doing some work. But I wanted to put the spotlight on one Braeden Cootes to open up this tournament's coverage and to just get the ball rolling for Vancouver Canucks fans. Because while it's true that Braeden Cootes was not on the first line alongside of Michael Hage and Brady Martin of the Canadiens and the Predators, but it's also true that Braeden Cootes in a top 6 role for Vancouver, for Canada, looked very, very good. And I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to talk about the other guy that was listed on the top line of Canada. He's right there on the far left, number 9, Gavin Mckenna, December 20th, 2007, 5'11", 162, out of Penn State University for the Nittany Lions. McKenna is in a really interesting spot, and I think he definitely deserves his praises in this video commentary as well. But I just wanted to set the stage on Cootes and potentially talk about whether or not these guys could find themselves on the same team at some time in the long-term future. We're going to be referring to a lot of Dave Hall tweets in this video. He does Vancouver Canucks prospect coverage for Canucks Army and AHL prospect coverage on McQueen, so he kind of knows what he's talking about. He ended up tweeting about how Braeden Cootes is on the second line and how Vancouver Canucks prospect Wilson Bjork is on the fourth line with his brother. So this, of course, is pretty cool. Nice Swedish connections going there. You can see that the Swedes have fewer NHL prospects drafted compared to the Vancouver Canucks. But if you go out there and take a look at some of the other updates, this is what Hall went out there and said during the broadcast. Gavin Mckenna was just mistaken for Braeden Cootes on the feed. Take that as you will. Of course, he's kind of just being tongue-in-cheek. He's not necessarily saying that, oh yeah, Gavin Mckenna is looking like Braeden Cootes out there, or vice versa. But really, Gavin Mckenna had such a good showcase, and the fact is, his play in Penn State University this season has been questionable by some. For if you go over to the point production, he's got 18 points in 16 games, which is fine. It's over a point per game. You like to see that out of draft-eligible players, but if you've been reading some of the articles that have been coming out about this guy and the upcoming draft, if you've been following the conversations, you would know that some scouting outlets like Sportsnet.ca, for example, one of the biggest ones, and scrolling down here, the Hockey News, Tony Ferrari, for example, some of these outlets have stopped ranking Gavin Mckenna as number 1. Not because there have been some other prospects that have ascended above and beyond, but because Gavin Mckenna, you can say, might not be looking as impressive here with Penn State as he was with the Medicine Hat Tigers last year when he had 129 points in 56 games played, 38 points in 16 playoff games. The guy was well over 2 points a game in both the regular season and the playoffs in the dub as a 16-year-old. That is absolutely outrageous. And so for Gavin McKenna to have had that bonkers bananas season that he had, he was unanimously ranked first overall heading into the year, but with Penn State, unfortunately, his production is more in that Adam Fantilli-esque territory, and you can say that it's not good enough to uphold that first overall status. So there have been some conversations about McKenna debating whether or not he is still a first overall pick this year. But my goodness, after this game against Team Sweden, oh boy, we are really starting to see some of those skills be put on display. World Hockey Report went out there and said this, ha ha ha, I really thought Gavin McKenna went to Penn State and forgot how to play hockey. Because this is a play right here where McKenna is able to chip the puck right down Main Street for Martin in front. It is a beautiful eyes in the back of his head kind of play to find the open man and to get that trailer, the puck. He gets it, he passes it, he feeds it. It's a beautiful play. Gavin McKenna, my friends, is showcasing some of the best hockey we have seen this year out of him just from that game yesterday alone. And based off of how well he has performed in this stage, I think it's fair to say that this guy is going to light the World Juniors up on fire. He is that good. Gavin McKenna is a monster, and we are really being put in our place as hockey fans when we bring up those conversations debating whether or not he should not have gone first overall in some of these mock drafts. But anyways, going back over to Braeden Cootes, because I wanted to turn the conversation back to him. There are some Canucks fans bringing up and debating whether or not Cootes and McKenna could find themselves in the same team long term. That is, of course, if the Vancouver Canucks go out there and continue to start losing games. McKenna being mistaken for Cootes on the feed obviously is a pretty good sign. And to make things even better, Cootes was on the first power play unit alongside of Reshny, Martin, McKenna, and Zane Parekh. Hall also went out there and tweeted this, apologies for the delay. My thoughts on the game were that it was a preliminary game. I thought you could tell each team was feeling everything out. I thought Braeden Cootes looked a little scrambly in the first, mainly adjusting to the wing. But from the second period on, he had settled in. He was on power play 1 and the PK and had a few good chances. You can definitely see the upside. You have to think he is making the team. As for Wilson Bjork, he wasn't on any special teams, so his time on ice was much more limited. It was a great night for the tank. Now, also, you had this tweet posted by Nux0, a little bit more praising of Braeden Cootes. We're not going to jump to any immediate conclusions, but he went out there and said that Cootes is a true leader, out there pointing and getting guys into position defensively during the Sweden empty net. He has shined today, power play and PK, and showed a real high-end toolkit. He's one of the time-on-ice leaders for Canada. His ceiling is much higher than we thought. And then if you scroll down, player comp Braeden Point. Okay, if he becomes Braeden Point, I also would explode everywhere. Nikhil called out Nux0, bro, you're the hyperbole king. Relax, man. But I think Braeden Cootes becoming a guy like Braeden Point is a little far-fetched. Maybe it's the absolute high-end pinnacle ceiling that he could achieve. Maybe a Bo Horvat is a lot more realistic for a guy like Cootes, although still, Bo Horvat is one of the better centers in the National Hockey League, so it's a tall task for a guy who was taken 15th overall. But still, taking a look at the showcase of this first game where Braeden Cootes adjusted to the wing quickly, he was able to get that power play and penalty kill time, he was able to display his leadership skills, on top of following in the footsteps of Gavin McKenna, who really stepped up and put on a show. I think this can be very well for Canucks fans. You take a look at Team Canada, you watch some of the potential long-term. Ivar Stenberg would complete the Swedish crown in Vancouver, but Gavin McKenna would look pretty good too. With that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Braeden Cootes and Gavin McKenna suiting up for Team Canada to open up this Canadian preliminary tournament? I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.